Yeah, I'm gonna move it.
Yeah, you just handed it off to you.
Hey guys, what's this right here I get?
No, I'm okay. Well, you can pull that. Thanks,
Well, they're not super sweet.
Yeah, we can. Y'all are gonna turn around right here. Y'all are gonna turn around right here. Everybody right here behind you so that we can get right here behind.
So which way?
So y'all are, so everyone just come right here. Y'all are gonna be standing with your signs right here, just on the edge of the grass. Right. So over here.
More.
What?
No more.
What do you mean?
Stand on the sidewalk, so we are just gonna bunch around.
We gotta change that.
The grass.
Get your balance right. Hey, Ava, scoot up. Just take one step away.
Apparently I wore the wrong thing. I was supposed to wear my Bring Rich Home shirt. Wags?
Got away with it.
Yeah.
Had a phone call, told me about it.
Hey Lee, Bloxbury.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you. I gotta go. Okay.
Hey Lee, I have a new link.
Yeah?
Ring Ridge Home 1.
Text it to me immediately, please. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey.
Tell me your name.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
In Newport. Yeah, Laura Johnson.
You would have met me.
This is it? Test?
Yeah,
Who's that?
I said.
It's Bates, Marion Bates.
I did so much
I'm
time.
just going to send you a poll.
Yeah, when Laura called and told me. So it's like,
That's why I wore these pants in case anybody's wondering why we're out of one. I like it.
Kevin's explaining this to me.
Very loud. Yeah, it is on the.
That is okay. It's the test one I sent you. It is correct. Correct.
Okay.
I hope I sent the right one.
Well,
What's wrong?
I'm about to share it with
We're good.
Thank you for that clarification. That's good.
It is labeled
I was
test.
worried
It
there.
shouldn't be labeled test, but it is.
I have long hair and more jeans.
Hey,
John, do you have a
I
new
wouldn't
link
judge
or
it.
is it-
It's also feeding YouTube.
Yes.
Bring Ridge Home 1.
oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well,
Just send it to like the A&E.
yes, we can.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
It looked kind of tacky putting it on. What's that?
Lonnie, those
There's nowhere to be now.
See if you can get that to go.
Large scale reference. Is that right, Mango? I mentioned it very briefly on a local radio.
Okay, I wanted to.
The fact that I was scooping.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm ready to go now. Or
Cool. I'm gonna do it. Get started right now.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Hey, so the morning, everybody. I'm Jonathan Franks. I'm the spokesman for the Bring Ridge Home campaign, and thanks for joining us here today at the Capitol as we're continuing to raise awareness of the plight of Lieutenant Ridge Alconis, who is serving an unjust 3-year prison sentence in Japan. So before I introduce Ridge's wife, Brittany, to say a few words. I want to introduce one of the leaders on this issue in the Congress, Senator Mike Lee from the state of Utah. Thank you.
Thanks so much, John. This is an important day. This is an important event. Lieutenant Ridge Alconis is a hero. He's someone who's served his country well. He's got a stellar record within the Navy, a stellar academic and professional record in every respect. He's one of the best and the brightest. And we need him. We need him, and Brittany and their children need him back in the United States. It's also important to the relationship between Japan and the United States to have Ridge home. We live in an increasingly hostile world, and our relationship with Japan is strong. We're allies. We're military and economic partners. That needs to be as strong as ever, stronger than ever right now as we face increasing uncertainty posed by threats coming out of China. So as a result of that, we've got to get this taken care of. That relationship is too important to have something like this get in the way, and that's one of the many reasons why we need to bring Ridge home. Now, I've enjoyed getting to know the Alconis family and members of their group here, some of whom are family members, some are old friends or professional acquaintances who have worked really hard on this. This is part of a broad team effort. I've been in conversations with members of our own government and members of the Japanese government. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, I traveled to Japan and had conversations with Japanese government officials around the idea that we need to bring Ridge home. And I believe there is shared enthusiasm and a shared understanding on both sides of the Pacific Ocean. This needs to happen, and it needs to happen quickly. It needs to happen in a matter of days or weeks, not many months or years. This is too important for that. At the end of the day, we have to remember that what happened on the day of the accident was tragic. It was unfortunate. Our thoughts, our prayers, our deepest condolences and sympathies go out to the family members of those whose lives were tragically cut short the day of the accident. But this was an accident. It was an accident brought about by a medical emergency, one that was neither foreseen nor foreseeable by Lieutenant Ridge Alconis. It's also important to remember that Lieutenant Alconis and his family paid out a record-breaking sum to try to settle this out of court. Over $1.6 million were paid through what's known as the Gomenasai process, which normally brings these things to a close. Under circumstances like this one, I'm told that 95% of people who have been accused of and convicted of this specific offense in Japan, which I would note is not an offense punishable in criminal law in the United States or in any other civilized country of which I'm aware. But it is in Japan, and we understand that, we respect that. They've got their right to have a legal system set up the way that they choose. But it's notable here that 95% of the defendants in his circumstances, where a Gomenasai payment has been offered and received, only 5% of those defendants ever actually served time in prison. Nearly all of them have their sentences suspended, meaning they serve no prison time. And so I do think that fact is worth mentioning here. It's important that we continue to work together in ongoing conversations with Japanese government officials, with the assistance of the U.S. Embassy in Japan, and I want to offer my thanks, my profound gratitude to U.S. Ambassador Rahm Emanuel, our ambassador in Japan, who has done great work in helping set up meetings with Japanese government officials and in helping to sound our alarm bells of concern within the Japanese government. He's been a tremendous ally. More work remains to be done within our country. I'm in communication with not only the State Department, but also the Department of Defense, and the U.S. Department of Justice as we evaluate ways to bring Ridge home and to bring him home quickly, which is what we all want to have happen. So I'd invite all within the sound of my voice who haven't yet heard this story, learn more about it. And I encourage, in fact, I implore the President of the United States to meet with Mrs. Alconis. Brittany Alconis is someone whose story President Biden needs to hear. As President Biden himself is a military father, and as a military father, I'm confident that when he meets Brittany Alconis, all she needs is 10 minutes. When he meets her, when he hears her story, this story will touch him deeply and motivate him to action. Not only as President of the United States, but also and especially as a military father. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lee, and thank you for your leadership on this. I'd also like to introduce next Congressman Mike Levin, who is Ridge's congressman.
Well, good morning. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Senator Lee. I want to also recognize Brittany Alconis just for her tremendous perseverance during this difficult time. I want to also thank your great kids. Look forward to seeing them a little bit later. Over the last few months, it's been my pleasure to learn more about the man Lieutenant Ridge Alconis is. By all accounts, an excellent husband and father to 3 young kids. A man who's dedicated his life to serving this country and defending an ally over the course of 3 tours of duty in Japan. Nobody deserves the treatment that Lieutenant Alconis has endured in Japan, especially not a person of his character and a person of his history of service to our country. As I see it, Japan's treatment of Lieutenant Alconis appears to violate the Status of Forces Agreement, or SOFA. The U.S.-Japan SOFA requires an immediate showing of, and I quote, adequate cause and necessity in order to detain a U.S. military member. But we know the Japanese police and prosecutors did not follow that protocol with Lieutenant Alconis. My office has been working with the Navy and the Office of the Secretary of Defense to support Lieutenant Alconis throughout his case. And like Senator Lee said, we've had productive dialogue with Ambassador Rahm Emanuel, and we thank him. I also led a letter signed by 9 of my House colleagues calling on Japanese Ambassador Tomita to review Lieutenant Alconis' case and work with us on solutions allowing him to return home. But we need more urgent action. We need to bring Lieutenant Alconis home to his family. We will not be giving up on Lieutenant Alconis. We will not be giving up, and the United States government must not give up either.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your leadership as well. I'd like to now introduce Brittany Alconis, Lieutenant of strength and perseverance throughout this whole thing.
First and foremost, and I just want to thank Senator Lee and Congressman Levin for the absolute countless hours that have been poured into bringing Ridge home and to reuniting him with our children. I'm also thankful for the media for being here today and for playing the vital role that only you can fulfill here in our government. It has now been 53 days since Ridge has been taken away from our family. And I feel like Senator Lee, Congressman Levin, I've said most of what needs to be said. But Mr. President, all we are asking for is for you to please meet with me. Please allow my children and I just a few minutes of your time. I am just pleading with you as Ridge's Commander-in-Chief to allow us that opportunity. My children miss their father dearly. The pain that I see when I look into their eyes every single day is palpable, and it only grows. They need their dad back. This week is our oldest daughter's birthday. All she wants is to have her dad home. She thinks often about the next birthday that he'll be here with her. And lastly to Ridge, if you were able to see this, we love you. I am sorry I'm not in Japan advocating for you there. But we love you, we believe in you, we know of your goodness, and we won't stop fighting for you to come home. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. And we are not going to give up. Brittany has been conducting homeschool for her kids on a picnic blanket outside the press gate at the White House for several weeks now, and no intention of stopping anytime soon. So we are hopeful that at some point she will simply be invited inside to have a substantive conversation, or that somebody in the executive branch, anybody, would have a direct conversation with her. I think her husband's exemplary service deserves that. In fact, I mean, this family is now on its second journey to Washington, D.C. to stand in a location wearing matching blue t-shirts, all to raise awareness about a case of a Navy lieutenant whom the government themselves think shouldn't be in jail. And it's important that we not give up on him. It's important DOD not give up on him. And, you know, it's important if we as a country want to ask people to sign up to serve. When something bizarre and unexpected like this happens, we have to have their backs. It's part of the deal. So, anyway. And Senator Lee's going to join us back up here, actually. Please.
I just wanted to add one additional point I failed to mention in my remarks previously. One of the issues we've got to deal with that has yet to be addressed, I've been in conversations along with Congressman Levin and others with the Department of Defense. We need to get Ridge paid. Lieutenant Alconis has been told that unless an exception to policy is granted, he will cease to receive salary and benefits as a U.S. Navy officer as soon as his leave runs out. Now, I find it unthinkable that we, having assigned a U.S. Navy lieutenant to serve in a particular country, and that country, because of its idiosyncratic legal system, a legal system that differs so markedly from our own or from that of any other civilization that I know about, has resulted in a harsh prison sentence for something that wouldn't be a crime anywhere else. We need to continue to pay him while this gets resolved. There is a way administratively that can be done. We've made requests through the Department of Defense. We remain hopeful and optimistic, and we continue to implore the Department of Defense to grant the exception to policy to allow him to continue to get paid. As I was visiting with Lieutenant Alconis, I visited him twice in prison in Japan, and it was heart-wrenching. It was tear-jerking. To sit across from a man behind plexiglass, concerned about everything else that he's got to deal with, and to watch him struggle with the fact that his own government that he serves, his own country which he protects, is considering not paying him. This is unthinkable. We need that exception to policy granted. And if it isn't granted, we will have to come up with a legislative solution to fix it. There's no reason to do that. They've got the power to do it on their own, and I asked them to do that forthwith. We need to bring him home, and we need to get Ridge paid. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think that's all from us. Happy to answer anybody's questions if there are any. That was easy. Well, thanks for joining us. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Has there been any update on any possible agreement between the U.S. government and Japanese government to bring him home? Do you have any updates on anything like that?
We don't have any significant updates on that. Any significant updates on the government's, our government's negotiation with the Japanese? Sorry,
there is an understanding on both sides of the Pacific Ocean, in our government and in the Japanese government, that this is a sensitive issue, that it's got to be dealt with quickly. We've outlined some plans by which he can be returned to the United States. Those are still ongoing, and I probably can't get into more detail on that right now.
Anybody else? All right, well, thanks for joining. Feel free to come up and chat with us afterwards. I appreciate everybody coming today.